what it is, what it do, and how the hell are all of you? Yours truly, Petra. I'll fuck back with another mother love. You already know the deal. Grab your smoke, grab your drink, and like with your boy, because we back with another one. Yeah, you already know we're going to start out with some more Rittenhouse shit. Because I just want to say that I was right. We're just going to say that I was right. The last couple videos, I've already said that Rittenhouse's life is never going to be the same again. At least, not for the foreseeable future. I mean, shit. If Casey Anthony can live a decent life and not be killed in the streets, I think Kyle Rittenhouse can get the same. And I thought Casey Anthony did that shit. And I thought she should have caught the death penalty. She just had a pretty good attorney, if you look back at the case. Fucking sad, but it's the truth. Now, we're going to pull this up. This is Insider. You already know I love using outlets that I don't necessarily side with when it comes to a lot of the things that they publish. I think sometimes it's easier to get the other side's extreme point of view versus give out the same point of view that a lot of my listeners already have. So there's no reason to bring up a Fox News or Blaze article every time when you can bring up the craziness of CNN, MSNBC, Insider, any of those ones, right? Anyways, as you can see, the headline says, Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyer says he's received so many death threats, he's no longer using his phone. I made it clear that that's what would happen. This man's life was not going to be popping. Now, granted, I don't know how they got his personal cell phone number. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty easy to come up with it, this, that, the other. But I would assume that his lawyers, since they're defense attorneys, probably would have told him to cop a burner phone a long time ago. And that's definitely not the easiest to get the number from, because your name's not listed with the phone. So how the fuck you gonna get my number? And the only thing I could really say to like Kyle himself is, when you are a person that is in the public eye or in the public scene, you are going to have people that get really rowdy over the internet, over their cell phone, because it's really easy to flap your gums from behind a screen, you know what I mean? So that's the one thing I tell them is, like, chances are most of these people making these threats wouldn't do shit if they seen you. And they damn sure wouldn't want to go to a gun range and you be on the opposite side as them. Let's be honest. Dude's shots was deadly. He didn't miss. So why would someone think they're going to go out there and have a, the fuck? What do you think? You're going to pop him? And I say it like that because we had the rapper 6ix9ine got out of prison for the racketeering charges. If you guys don't know who he is, I'm not getting into all that. But he had racketeering charges. He ratted out basically an entire gang for his own reasonings. We're not going to get into that. I've had done episodes on that before. I can snippet them and put them up. Let me know. Anyways, he had, I myself personally, every time I would be in a Facebook chat or something and people would be shooting their mouths off in the comments, I always seen a death threat. Now, Matt Walsh has made a point. It's how credible is the threat? Because a lot of people, like I said, just talk shit behind the screen. It's not credible. Now, you might have people out there that are credible, but it's probably smart of the young cat to quit using his phone. Just going to say that. So, it says right here, man, Mark Richards, Kyle Rittenhouse's criminal defense attorney, told Insider that he received so many death threats that he no longer using his own cell phone. Richards said he can't count the number of death threats he received. It's too high, he added. The attorney has since taken to using his wife's cell phone, which he used to speak to Insider, but added that her number also has been targeted by making death threats. So I'm assuming he's catching them too. Is that what he's saying? Oh, he's received so many. Okay. Same thing. Why would you not have a burner phone, homie? Like, the shoe still fits. Like, that's got to suck. I mean, for both of them, both their lives are not going to be good for a long time because of this case. Now, I'm sure after OJ got off, that the lawyer that got him off, wasn't that Kim Kardashian's dad or whatever? Anyways, I don't know who got him off. That's not my point here. I don't really care. But those attorneys that got him off, they probably received some kind of death threats back in the 90s, whether it was somebody called their office or sent them a letter or whatever. So they received, I guarantee, received death threats. Guaranteed. But the difference in 2021 is your cell phone is not that hard. The number is not hard to come across. Especially if there's 100 different angles to get to that phone. And this defense attorney has defended how many people? How many of those people have his number and have no problem giving it up? Because we've seen in the comments, we've seen across social media, people do not care about ratting nobody out for a little bit of clout. Clout is worse than heroin. Clout is worse than meth. Clout is a drug that it's hard to come by, but when you get it, you don't want to lose it. Unless you're a creator like myself and others that aren't chasing clout. I'm not trying to be famous. I'm just trying to share my opinion and my voice so other people that have the same belief or the same opinion or something along the lines are able to know that, hey, someone's out there at least talking that shit. It may make it so someone doesn't feel the need to go talk that shit to put themselves a target on their back. I've lost a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of homies. I've gotten into a lot of arguments with people that I liked. I enjoyed talking to. I've been outed. I've been ousted at work. No one would talk to me, all that kind of shit because of my beliefs. But it didn't change me. It just let me know you need to go be somewhere around people that have the same kind of view because these motherfuckers ain't it. And when I see articles where you got someone saying they've received so many death threats they have to use a different phone, and then even that phone gets death threats. If this dude has kids, I bet his kids are receiving death threats. All because people didn't like the verdict. That's wild to me. Because you're mad. You have nothing to do with the case. Nothing. But you're that mad that you're willing to send a death threat to somebody because you're that mad. Are you mad on behalf of Groskrauts, the boy that's alive? Because if you're going to try to defend the other two pieces of shit, then you're just as much of a piece of shit as they are. Now, I seen that Groskrauts had a DUI like a week or whatever, driving under the influence a week before or whatever. He had the same activist attitude during the video that he has in person, I guess, from what we've seen. And if that's what you got for his character. He just seems like a douchebag that had a pistol. That's what it seems like to me. You ran up with your hands, oh, I'm a friendly. And then the minute Kyle turned away, you tried to aim at him. You're a bitch. Simple. At least Rosenbaum and Huber didn't act like a bitch before they got shot. Now, I've seen people say they thought he was an active shooter. They thought he was an active shooter. Really? He shot one person and you thought he was an active shooter? So does that mean Timmy Simpkins, who shot and missed most of his shots, is an active shooter? Or is it a kid that just went in and mad as fuck? Yes, I'm going to compare the two because people love to say that. They love to compare Trayvon Martin to Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, let's compare more realistic age ranges. Timmy Simpkins, the kid that just shot up a Texas school and shot a teacher, missed a few shots, shot a kid. Because it seems like he got the same body count as Rittenhouse. Let's look that up. See, when you look him up on Google, Timmy Simpkins. Family says North Texas school shooter suspect was terrified. I bet Kyle Rittenhouse was terrified too. But that doesn't matter to anybody, right? Timberview High School shooting suspect in Texas released on bond. And now, see, I remember a conversation about this immediately when he was bonded out because Kyle Rittenhouse couldn't get bonded out. They did everything in their power to keep that boy locked up. Everything. Made it so he couldn't get bailed, couldn't get GoFundMe money, even if somebody wanted to set up an account, none of that shit. Alleged Texas school shooter Timothy Simpkins released from jail. Timberview High School shooting suspect bonds out from jail. Family of Timothy Simpkins, Timberview school shooting suspect, asked for. Let's see what they asked for. This is from Newsweek. School shooting suspect asks for forgiveness. So because he asks for forgiveness and because they have this little word in here, yes, we're going to do this. This little word right here, bullying, because he said he was bullied. He got to go into a school and shoot whoever he's seen fit. He was just a bad shot is all it was. The fact that no one died or he didn't kill more people or injure more people was because he was a bad shot. This is not a random act of violence, Colby said. This is not somebody attacking our school. What would you call it then? Because is that not what an active shooter is? Let's look up the definition of active shooter. Again, we'll use Google. Active shooter. Accidental gun discharge creates chaos at Atlanta airport. I don't know how there's accident. And that was 23 hours ago. No active shooter. Okay, so should we go to Wikipedia? You know what? I think let's go to the FBI.gov because the FBI is fucking up just as much as everyone else is at the moment. Oh, this is active shooter resources. What's this say? Contents: run, hide, fight. Okay, whatever. Anyways, although local state law enforcement agencies are virtually always the first ones on scene, the FBI has played a large role in supporting the response of every major incident in recent years. So where's the, okay, see, clearly they're just not going to give us a definition. Active shooter definition. That's all I want to see, what the definition is. The agreed upon definition of active shooter by government agencies is an individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. In most cases, active shooters use firearms, and there is no pattern or method to their victim selection. Active shooter situations are unpredictable and evolve quickly because active shooting situations are often over within 10 to 15 minutes before the law enforcement arrives on scene. Okay, so let's use their definition. Timmy Simpkins walks into a high school with a gun and starts actively shooting and attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. Now, I would argue happily that when Kyle Rittenhouse was out in the street, there was probably more people in the high school than there was right there on the street. And when you see the videos they love to show so much, and you see that drone video, it really shows you the distance in between the groups of people. Not that it could be 100 feet, 200 feet, but they have a lot more space to run than if you're in a classroom with one door. See, it's really easy to make comparisons, especially straw man ones. I know full well what I'm doing is straw manning out the ass, but I'm doing it for a purpose because this is the same arguments that we get, same arguments that I see, the same arguments I refuse to engage in. I'm sorry that Trayvon Martin got killed by George Zimmerman. He beat the fuck out of George Zimmerman. Every report and the pictures after the fact show that George Zimmerman got his ass handed to him by a 17-year-old boy. Only problem is, 17-year-old boy did not realize George Zimmerman had a pistol in his pocket. Had Trayvon known that, maybe he wouldn't have been so quick to start a fight and put Zimmerman in a position that he thought his life was in danger. Kyle Rittenhouse was being chased by a full-grown ass man who previously in the night was talking about, shoot me then. Well, he got his wish. And it doesn't surprise me that Rosenbaum had the attitude he had. The man went to prison and never quit getting in trouble. And I'm assuming all the work he put in, all the problems he got in, was revolving around his case. I'm sure he was jumping around from pod to pod to pod every minute they found out what he did. Unless he somehow linked up with a group of pedophiles, which wouldn't shock me either. They probably hang out together and go over what they like to do. Bunch of weirdo fucks. But when we think about a normal active shooter situation in comparison to Kyle Rittenhouse, it's apples and oranges. They're different situations. Because the night of the 2020 riots, that whole summer, it didn't matter what city you were in that was being rioted in. The tension in those cities was so tense, you could cut it with a butter knife. You had people that literally woke up to go out to protest. Then you had all the crackheads and meth heads that went to sleep during the day, get up at 8 o'clock at night and go out again. You had multiple people doing whatever kind of damage, violence they could because they were able to impose it. Here's a good question that I have not seen anybody ask. During those riots, during those riots in the city, how many people do you think got beat up, got robbed, houses got robbed, people got shot? How many people do you think were hurt outside of the riots because the riots were happening? If you know they're rioting on Lake Street, you could go over 2 streets and probably hold up a couple people, rob a house, rob a store. Why? Because the police aren't going to be coming because they're preoccupied with their hands tied 3-4 blocks down. And this is another thought. Ain't got no proof to it. But if you look at how Minneapolis was hit, first it started with AutoZone for next to no reason. And then all the other stores around it started getting looted. Not burnt down like AutoZone did. AutoZone was not looted. It was just burnt the fuck down. And then when you went to these other stores that were looted, you noticed they took everything and then broke everything. You broke all the shelving, you broke all the glass, you broke everything and you stole everything. And when I mean you stole everything including the fucking safe. The Walgreens that I have pictures of, the entire pharmacy was stripped naked. So that means everybody had heart problems, diabetes, so on and so forth. All these medical conditions that they would need medicine for, that medicine was no longer available to them because someone stole it. Do you want to tell me some of these places that were hit weren't a strategic hit? Because they pulled up with U-Hauls and shit. Do you want to tell me again it wasn't strategic? You want to tell me again that people didn't pull up in their cars and their trucks and all this knowing full well they were about to run in and loot and steal? It's called strategy. They knew what they were doing. Just like when they broke in St. Paul, over in St. Paul on Midway. And they started with one door and worked their way the whole way down the strip mall. And they weren't breaking in the front door. They were breaking in the back door where the truck comes and drops product off. Those big-ass metal doors that slide up, they were breaking those bitches open. And then walking in, opening the side door so everybody could get in. There were live streams of people looting. And then there were people who were mad because they couldn't cut through the backyards. Because the homeowners were like, nah, fuck that. You ain't coming in my yard with that shit. You ain't running around my house with that shit. Fuck you. So they had to go out the same alleyway they came in. And that took a matter of 10 to 15 minutes. It didn't take long for 300, 400, 500 people to loot one store of everything it had, except the shit no one found valuable. But do you see how the media and the Democrats take a narrative and switch it every which way they can? Because if you look it up right now, let's look. So here we go. This TMZ says, more mass looting in Bay Area, this time Nordstrom and Walnut Creek. Let's click that and see what that's for. Bay Area coordinated by dozens and descended upon high-end retail stores. On Saturday, Walnut Creek's number was called. About 25 cars just blocked the street and rushed into Walnut Creek's Nordstrom, making off with goods before getting in cars and speeding away. At least 2 people arrested at gunpoint. Flash mob robbery. I suppose that's something you could call it. Let's see as to why they did this, if there's a reason. That's why we're scrolling slowly. Yep, see, it was by the way, this is far from a California only problem. There have been reports of mass looting all over the country for the past several days now, including another hit near Chicago where another Louis Vuitton store was cleaned out. Gone in 45 seconds. Didn't even take 10 to 15 minutes. Took them 45 seconds. And I'm using the active shooter timeline here. Because again, we're talking about a confined and populated area, right? These stores are going to be confined and populated with a lot of people. Especially if they're mass looting. Some are tying all this to the Rittenhouse verdict, but it seems clear these folks had plans well before the fate was read aloud. And besides, there's been virtually little to no unrest in the wake of him being found guilty, not like 2020 anyway, so the protest angle just doesn't make sense. What we're seeing appears to be just a good old-fashioned crime spree, which is getting more and more brazen by the day. See, TMZ, we're going to take what they say with a grain of salt all day, every day, because we already know they are extremely left-leaning in everything they believe and everything they put out. That's just not, you can't argue that at all. Though I do like me a Harvey Levin conversation every now and again. I won't lie about that. But to say that it has nothing to do with the Rittenhouse verdict, maybe not in California, but they did have protests in New York over it. So I know that's the other side of the fucking world. I know, especially to a bunch of Democrats that live in California. New York is years away. Unless they're going there on some kind of vacation. Point being, the Louis Vuitton store, that was looted because of the Rittenhouse verdict, no matter how you try to twist it. It happened 2 days after it happened. Strategy-wise, yeah, it's a crime spree. Strategy-wise, yeah, it's definitely a crime spree. And you got every criminal and their mama knowing right now, the police Hands are still tied. Now those ties, I believe, are slowly becoming a tad bit looser, but it's not coming anytime fast. It's not coming with any speed. And that sucks in its own right, because these crime sprees shouldn't. You arrested 2 people outside of that Walnut Creek Nordstrom's. 2 people. Out of how many? Did you only send 1 squad? That sounds like what California would do, send 1 squad to stop an entire 200 people robbing some shit. 25 cars pulled up and blocked the street? Tell me that wasn't strategic. They did that same shit in Minneapolis. All the tobacco stores, the liquor stores, the Walgreens, the pharmacies, the banks, the pawn shops, all these things that were looted, burnt down to fucking nothingness. For what? So someone could get a bong? Because all this shit that, and I've told this story time and time again. During the George Floyd riots, the night after the riots, you could go down to South Minneapolis or North Minneapolis. I won't give away the streets, but you could go down a couple main streets in Minneapolis, north and south, and you would see people with their SUVs, their cars, this, that, the other, with the trunks popped, selling whatever goods they had. Because, Good Samaritans go out to Foot Locker, they spend $20,000, $30,000 on shoes, and then they just go give it away to the public. That's what they do. You can't argue. You can't tell me that they do turkey giveaways, but they don't give Jordan giveaways. Come on now. You're going to tell me that they're not giving away Jordans out there for free? And a pair of Nikes? Come on. I know they are. That's a fucking lie. They're not. They were being sold for, I don't remember what the cost was, but I know they sold a pair of Air Force, normal white pair of Air Forces that are normally $80 in Foot Locker. They took $40 for them. And the funniest part was, not even 3 lots down from this sale, there was a squad car just sitting there watching. Nothing they could do. Just like, it's funny to say, same squad car switches positions throughout the day. And they're sitting in another parking lot, and at the gas station they were at, is now there's people selling crack right outside the front door of the gas station. No cops coming to stop that. But yet they can see it. So to make it sound as if this has nothing to do with the Rittenhouse trial, it may not have anything to do specifically with the Rittenhouse trial, but we have Rittenhouse's trial just ended. You got the Ahmaud Arbery trial still going on in Georgia. You got Kim Potter coming up for the killing of Dante Wright. That's coming up. I think it could already be underway. They were protesting the judge because the judge said there was going to be no cameras and no live streaming in her courtroom. And Black Lives Matter got mad about that. You know what? Let's look that up real quick. Y'all know me. I love looking shit up, man. Let's look it up. Bada bing, bada boom. Yep. See the things here that I catch wind about. Like I heard that there was 14,000 immigrants, kids that were unvaccinated and didn't have to get vaccinated from other countries. Couldn't find much about that, but I found a little bit. That's for another conversation another day. You just got to see it, so you might know that there could be a video dropping about that, but it ain't gonna be today. Okay, so here we go. Dante's Wright fathers won't be sequestered during the Kim Potter trial. That might be a good thing. He wasn't there. Kim Potter trial, judge reverses sequestering Dante Wright's father. Let's see why she was going to sequester him. With less than 2 weeks before the jury selection is scheduled in Kim Potter manslaughter case, prosecutors are asking the court to allow Dante Wright's father to watch the trial before he is called as a witness. In a pretrial motion, presiding judge Regina Chu ordered Aubrey Wright to be sequestered to trial proceedings until he testifies. Potter's attorney had requested Aubrey Wright be sequestered with the belief that he would testify at the start of the trial. Okay, so this is from 5 Eyewitness News, basically. So then here we go. This is 4 days ago. Dante Wright shooting jurors for ex-Minnesota Minnesota cop Kim Potter. The trial asked about. Okay. Dante Wright shooting. Jurors for ex-Minnesota cop Kim Potter trial asked about BLM and defund the police. They damn well should have been asked about that because this boy was running with them motherfuckers and they were talking about BLM, fuck the police, all cops are bad during the protesting for him. I have videos of that shit. Maybe I should put those little snippets up and see what people think. Because it's really easy when you weren't there to say they weren't chanting that shit. They surely fucking were. Potential jurors in the trial for the former Minnesota police officer Kim Potter, who was facing manslaughter charges in April, fatal shooting of Dante Wright during a traffic stop, will answer a series of questions regarding their attitudes towards law enforcement, Black Lives Matter, and if they were injured or suffered property damage during any riots over the past 2 years. The 17-page Hennepin County Special Juror Questionnaire asked potential jurors to first describe what they remember from the media reports about the highly publicized April 11th shooting in Brooklyn Center, which sparked rioting while tensions in the Twin Cities were already high amid the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who was later convicted of George Floyd's murder. And I didn't even bring that up. That right there. To say that, for TMZ to say that this looting, this, that, it has nothing to do with the trials, has nothing to do with the verdicts, has nothing to do with rah, it obviously does. Because for the past 2 years, as this article just said, 2 years almost, it's not nonstop, but it's pretty often that we hear of rioting for whatever reason, whatever group sees fit. Look at what happened in Portland. Do you want to know what happened in Portland? After Kyle Rittenhouse's verdict came through, they went after the Justice Center again, broke all the fucking windows out. Tried to light it on fire. Again, for TMZ to say that it's not because of the trial, you're pushing it. Because Derek Chauvin, Rittenhouse, Ahmaud Arbery, and Kim Potter. 4 major cases that BLM has had their claws in for 2 years. Not every case is 2 years old, but BLM has been running the street alongside Antifa for 2 years nonstop. Now they can say, Hawk News can say, well, they only care about us when it comes to election season, hurrah. Yeah, that's because you guys are looting every other fucking weekend when someone gets shot or when you think someone gets shot, because that happened in Minneapolis. They were going to riot. They were going to loot all kinds of shit until they realized, oh wait, they did loot all kinds of shit, even though the dude shot himself in the fucking head. Yeah, once the video came out of that, they didn't want to riot no more because they knew, the police didn't kill him. Nope, police were walking up after he had already caused some damage, and he shot himself. Sad, but that's what happened. I couldn't imagine wanting to be dead versus going to prison. It just doesn't connect in my head. But the questionnaire asks potential jurors whether they have seen a video of Wright shooting death and whether they have experienced or training in handling a firearm or taser. Former Brooklyn Police Chief Tim Gannon had gone against the advice of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in making the decision to release body cam footage just days after the fatal shooting. In the video, Potter is heard yelling "taser, taser" before shooting her handgun at the Wright. Now, I'm going to say it. I'm going to keep saying it. I've said it before, and people may not like this. But where the police are at right now, where the policing is right now, in this day and age, police go out every day to protect and serve, right? Now, we can all admit that there's bad apples out there. We can all say that there's bad apples. But the police go out to protect and serve, right? Well, when the police go out to protect and serve, and whether it's a traffic stop, whether it's a warrant, whether it's a no-knock warrant, you have cops that are automatically going to be put on camera. Now, I'm not excusing what Derek Chauvin did. He should not have sat on George Floyd's neck. No way, no how. One of the other 3 cops should have stepped in and put an end to that shit right away. But I also think George Floyd should have complied the first time they told him to comply. They should have never let him get back out of the car once he was in the car. But one of the things that I will argue is because we've seen this in public, we've seen this with people on camera. The minute that camera comes up, either you do not give a fuck how you act, or you care about how you act real quick. Right? So if you care all of a sudden about how you're acting, you may think about, I better not say some shit it might be viral. This could be going live right now. The police don't know. The people on camera don't know. But what they do know is now they're on camera. So everything they do is going to be scrutinized not only by themselves because they got a body camera, but it's going to be scrutinized by a bunch of people that have no idea on what the police, how they police, this, that, the other. You don't know, how cops police in Minneapolis is it's completely different than how they police in the middle of Denver, or the middle of Seattle, or the middle of Houston, or the middle of fucking Kentucky. Police training is different across the country because every state is different. Right? I think we can all agree to that. But one thing I think we can all agree to, once we start to think about it, is when those cops were automatically put on camera, and it wasn't just by one person, it was by multiple people, and you had people in the background telling Derek Chauvin, oh man, I'd beat the fuck out of you. I'd slap the fuck out of you. So now that cop and his fellow cops next to him are going to be a little bit more on high guard. So in my eyes, people might not like this one, but those people that had all those cops on camera are just as guilty of George Floyd's death. Because had you not put them on camera talking shit the whole time, screaming, hooting, and hollering, maybe the cop wouldn't have sat on George Floyd's neck the way you did. Maybe one of the other cops would have interfered with him to get him off of him, instead of you guys just keep trying to get closer to get it on camera. That's a hot take, and people may not like it. But that's how I see it. When you put someone on camera, they got two ways to act. They're either going to act the fuck out or they're not. And we've seen it with Karens, we've seen it with Chads, we've seen it with people on the internet that are wilding until they get put on camera. All of a sudden, they want to act right. Like the old women. This is a good one. Old women. I've seen it we've all seen 100 videos. They'll be fighting with you, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my God, they hit me. Oh my God, they hit me. When no one got hit. Like I said, you're either going to act right, you're going to act out of control, or you're going to figure out what the fuck is going on. You're going to try not to act stupid. And that's why I've made it clear. You try to put me on camera, you're going to go pick your phone up however far the fuck I can throw it away. And then we can talk without a camera. Because I'm not going to put you on camera. Now, there's been times like yesterday. I was over in Minneapolis yesterday. Went over to George Floyd thing to see if it was still open. If it wasn't open, I would have videotaped if they still would have had it blocked off, this, that, the other. But people were shopping. People were looking happy. There was people talking. Traffic was flowing. Yeah, they got to go around the Black Power fist in the middle of the street and the other things in the middle of the street. But at least there's ways to get through. At least ambulances and police can get through if need be to the people. I mean, the Speedway over there still says the People's Way, which is stupid fucking weird. I can't believe Speedway would still allow them to have the fucking store closed off that way, but it is what it is, right? But I also seen, on my way back, I've seen someone, if you all know what the light rail is in Minnesota, it goes through Minneapolis. We all know this. I've seen a dude so fucked up on heroin or Xanax. Dude was slumped over in the middle of the tracks, kissing his shoes. I yelled out, hey, yo, buddy. Hey, yo, buddy. He didn't move. Well, the light turned green. I got to go. Got a whole slew of cars behind me. Not one said a word. Because they're used to seeing it. Then you go a little bit further down the street, and somebody got a tent on the middle of there's a intersection. They got the tent on one side of the intersection. Homeboy shows up, got 3-4 bottles. You know, they about to party. You're going to be staying in the tent all day drinking as cars pass by. Then almost on the way back up out of the city, I see 2 more people downtown Minneapolis kissing their shoes. Hunched the fuck over in the middle of a walkway. Now, if you go on under the suburbs around Minneapolis, I can name at least 3 or 4 people. I don't know their names specifically, but they got their own nicknames. One of them I call him Flannel. He always got a flannel jacket on that's ripped. This man has literally been so conked out of his mind, he stops walking in the middle of the highway on a crosswalk. Stops walking completely. Just does not move. Time stopped for homeboy. He staring at the sky. But all this, what I'm getting at here is, over the last couple years, all the problems we've seen, whether it be looting, rioting, killings, all this shit, it's skyrocketed. What's skyrocketed along with it is drug abuse, drug crimes, this, that, the other, right? Well, when the hands are tied to the cops to the point that they can't even arrest you for stolen goods selling stolen goods in a parking lot that's not your parking lot. It's a McDonald's parking lot. They see it, but they can't do nothing about it. They can see the dude selling crack, but can't do nothing about it. Now, I'm not saying that they seen him sell crack, but I know that they know they sit and facing that way. They know what's going on there. But why aren't you stopping it? Same thing for the addicts that are so fucked up, they're gonna stop in the middle of the light railroad tracks. That light rail is gonna go 70 miles an hour. You're gonna be splatted to the moon. The fuck? And then downtown Minneapolis, there's such a police presence down there, such an ambassador presence down there, people that go get the police. Why are these junkies not at least sitting the fuck down on their ass up against the wall? Why are they leaned over, kissing their shoes? That's because the police can't do nothing. That's because the people that were able once to do something can't do nothing now. That's why homelessness has taken over the way it's taken over. And I would argue that a lot of the people that are homeless now are okay with being homeless. They don't care. They're happy with their life. They don't see a problem with it. When growing up, when people were homeless, they didn't want to be homeless. Now, you had a few people out there that were okay with being homeless drunks, whatever. But the majority were not trying to be homeless the rest of their existence. Well, now being homeless now is almost like it's a trend. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? I think a lot of other people do too. Just like the LGBT community. That's also been something that has been talked about heavily and scrutinized heavily, and all the scrutiny that's ever came their way has almost been shut down because it's hurtful, it's offensive, for whatever, right? But it's scrutiny nonetheless. But one of the things that in Minnesota, let's look it up real quick because I don't want to get it wrong. Right here, I typed in trans kid statistic in Minnesota. We're going to hit the first one. This is Twin Cities. This is published February 5th, 2018. Updated February 5th, 2018. Chicago, far more U.S. teens than previous thought are transgender identify themselves as using non-traditional gender terms, with many rejecting the idea that girl and boy are the only options, new research suggests. The study looked at students in 9th and 11th grade, and the estimate that nearly 3% of the transgender or gender nonconforming, meaning they don't always self-identify as sex they were assigned at birth. That includes kids who were referred to themselves as neutral pronouns like them instead of he or she. Diverse gender identities are more prevalent than people would expect. The lead author, Nick Ryder at University of Minnesota, postdoctoral fellow who studies transgender health. The study is an analysis from 2016, statewide survey, almost 81,000 Minnesota teens. Nearly 2,200 identify as transgender or gender nonconforming. These studies found that these kids reported worse mental and physical health than other kids, echoing results seen previous research. Bullying and discrimination are among possible reasons for the differences, Ryder said, although the survey didn't ask. Ryder said it's the study based on the statewide population of teens in the 9th and 11th grades that are the result that can be used to estimate the number of trans and gender nonconforming teens in those grades across the United States. The study was published Monday in the Pediatrics. So it's a UCLA study released last year, estimated 0.7% of teens aged 13 to 17 are transgender, or about 150,000 kids. The study used government data and adults to estimate numbers of children. It said that 0.6% of the U.S. adults identify as transgender, or about 1.4 million. Now, I've talked about it before. There was a woman on Joe Rogan, and she said she did a book. And so hold on. I want to look this because this is USA Today. Okay, so this says in December 4th, 2014, photo of Elliot. I don't care. A transgender male high school student in Mankato hugs his girlfriend. Okay, hugs her girlfriend. Analysis of 2016 statewide survey: 81,000 Minnesota teens suggest that far more U.S. teens are transgender and gender nonconforming than previously thought. Now, I say it like that because in high school, people can get mad at this, but in high school, trends come and go. And when you're that age and you're seeking attention, because this is what this lady said on Joe Rogan, a lot of it comes from attention, because the attention you get for coming out is massive. You know what I mean? If you especially, let's say in Minnesota, if you come out in Minnesota in some of these high schools, you're going to get almost a parade for you being brave, this, that, the other, when really it's not that brave. I'm sorry. I'm not ever going to compare someone coming out to someone doing something that's legitimately brave. I'm just not. But the point here is, I think it's a trend. I think if you want to be 18 years old, you're an adult, you want to be, and you think you have these issues, this, that, other, then go to a doctor and deal with it. Figure it out. But I think when it comes to children, especially the gender non-conforming, then they don't have to be trans. They don't have to be bi. But they don't have to be gay or lesbian. They still get the same attention as a trans, gay, bi, or lesbian kid. Right? At least that's what I'm getting from this. So what it comes down to is attention. How much attention can you get? Who's going to give me notoriety for this? Who's going to pat me on my back and say, "Good job, Oswald"? You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. Just like I think it's just as much of a trend to be a part of Black Lives Matter, to be a part of Antifa, to be a part of the people that hate the police. I think it's easy to join a collective and not actually be a part of it. And that's where I say, when it comes to transgender kids and it comes to a lot of these communities that we hear pop up more and more, I think it's a trend. I think it's easy for people to want to be a part of that. And I'm sorry, that can be as offensive as somebody wants to take it. But I don't care. Because you're not going to tell me that it's not a trend. Especially when they're doing studies of children between 9th and 11th grade. Some of the most impressionable years for a child ever. But then you also end up with outlets, news outlets, media, that, like TMZ, that only share one side and try to push down another side. Try and say, well, it's not all about the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. Well, it's clearly not all about the trans kids either, because a lot of them can be just gender non-conforming. Some days they're a boy, some days they're a girl, some days they're a Ninja Turtle, other days they're a dragon, other days they're a furry. Yeah. Was that offensive? Because again, we all know what's going to come next. I don't care. And this is just a rambling episode nonetheless at this point, as you can tell. If you stuck along this far, thank you. If I lost you in the sauce somewhere along the way, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, though, either. If I lost you along the way, you can pick up anywhere along and start again. It's not that hard. At least in my view. Anyways, I'm not done. There's a lot going on in the world. Whether it's the hate for police, whether it's the Democrats or the rhinos pushing for something that we don't need. And a lot of that stuff in that spending bill, we don't need. Somebody pointed it out on talk radio. I think it was Glenn Beck. They had said in a couple of years, Republicans are going to run. And they're going to run against that bill and all the things in that bill. And then the Democrats are going to be like, but they're trying to take away your child care. They're trying to take away your subsidies. The stuff that you need right now. The stuff that you forced us to need. You know how many people that I know for a fact have ended up on government assistance that didn't want government assistance? But because inflation is going as high as it can go and they only get paid so much, you're forcing people to need the government. Energy assistance in Minnesota, I think they said it was up like 85% people applying for it. $4 billion is going to come to Minnesota for the state to divvy out however is needed for energy assistance. People are not able to pay their gas bill or their electricity bill because of inflation. But yet here we are, jamming more bullshit down our throats. And then you want me to believe that you got my kid's best interest at heart in the school? When clearly you're teaching them whatever you think is good for a Tuesday afternoon. And I think one of the funniest things is, this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I think it's funny though. Near a school that I have to drive past, they have a big sign with all the Charlie Brown characters that says Merry Christmas, and it has a Luke verse from the Bible. I think it was like, could be verse. I think I think now I know it was verse 3 or chapter 3 verse. It was either verse 26, 16, or 28. Don't quote me. It was one of those three. Anyways, and I'd be driving past, so I don't get the best chance to look at it, but it's near a school. And I know for a fact that schools preach Happy Holidays, not Merry Christmas. So I find it extremely funny that there's a sign not even 100 feet, not even 100 yards from the school that reads Merry Christmas in big ass letters for every child and their mama to see. I like that. I like that. And I know there's a lot of people that drive past every day that hate that shit. Just like when I go to the gas station and I see I did that sticker by Biden pointing to the gas, and I see one or two of them ripped apart because someone got mad. Oh, big mad. Well, Biden did do that.